Now it's time for another bedtime story by the fire with Mary T. And tonight's story is called Always Remember, Never Forget by Denise Blake. I had a big birthday this year. One of those birthdays that make you pause and think, how did this happen? Where has that time gone? But birthday it was, so we had to celebrate. It's funny how your perception of age alters as time progresses. I remember my grandmother saying, I still feel that I'm a young woman. And the teenage me was thinking, nope, you're getting old, Granny. But it is not that I mind getting older. My mother was 41 when she died tragically. So then, years later, when I turned 42, it was a sudden gift, a freedom. I realised that each new year is one to treasure, no matter what age it adds up to. So, for this big birthday, we had a party on a warm Sunday afternoon. As people were gathering, a friend of mine, Brenda, said to me, I need to show you something when you get the chance to look at it. I bet you'll want to write about this. When I did get the chance, I sat down beside Brenda and she opened her bag, took out an old school book, a geography book. Brenda had been at a neighbour's wake the day beforehand, and the woman's daughter had given her this book. The daughter had used it in secondary school, but it had originally been Brenda's and had been owned by several different students during the 70s. Brenda placed the geography book in my hand. The front and back pages were covered with scrawled messages, all with the same theme. Always remember, never forget. I was bemused because I had been a year behind Brenda in school. I didn't think this had anything to do with me personally. The geography book reminded me of a story from years ago when my son was in secondary school. He was sitting in English class bored as the teacher talked about Hamlet. A friend sitting beside him said, Look at the shape of my book, it's ancient, and there's all this mad writing through it. My son said, Show me, and to pass the time he started reading. He flicked through the pages and suddenly he saw my handwriting. Always remember, never forget the day you saw MG walking up the town, your cousin, Denise. And I laughed when he landed home from school and told me that copy of Hamlet had first belonged to my cousin and had been passed on many times. Thankfully, I had written nothing incriminating on those pages. I don't know if she remembers who MG was, but I have no idea. A friend of mine, who's a teacher, says students don't write messages like that anymore. Always remember, never forget. Nowadays, books are hired or on loan, and anyway, they use social media. So here I was in my home on my birthday beside a friend and with a memento of past times in my hands. I hadn't written in this particular book, but Brenda was anxious that I keep looking through the pages. I read through the inscriptions. Always remember, never forget, it was in Loretto we first met. The pages were covered in so many random messages and I knew the authors. Never forget me, guess who? Remember your friend who sat beside you. Always remember today and you not having your homework done because you were at the bazaar. Never forget us in Two Brona. Are you going into the hop in the college tomorrow night? It was all there. Dreaded classes, our head nun, the youth club, who got speaking to a college boarder who was heartbroken, camogie games, parents, teachers, and even the odd scored out message after a breakup. Boys' names were written in code or just initialed, because of course they never would be forgotten. Every word had been written secretly during a class or evening study hall. Brenda was watching me carefully as I tried to decipher each piece of writing. And then, there tucked away amidst it all, in the smallest of handwriting and without a signature, was the shortest message. In memory of Denise's mother dying yesterday, the 3rd of the 12th, 1972. In that moment, my mother was back and with me in my living room. Brenda smiled at me. She knew my mother. She knew what it was to see this, for me to see this message that was written when I was 14. To have this book from her second year in the convent that had been passed from Brenda to her younger sisters, to her neighbours' daughters, to be put away for years and then handed back to Brenda again during a mother's wake, and to be handed on to me the next day and on my 60th birthday. And yes, as they had all said so many years ago, always remember, never forget. Good night, everyone, and stay safe.